It's Mosley Show. Welcome in on this Monday. Been a busy, busy weekend for the Rogue family, for the Mosley family. We've moved our daughter home from College Station, and she'll return, of course, for her sophomore year. But moved her out of the dorm, attended oh, there's Kev.
Did you
What's
get
up?
to go to the legendary Savannah Bananas at Kyle Field while you were down there?
Oh, that was happening, and there's been a lot on that.
Yeah.
We did not go because we were busy and we had a wedding that night in Houston. So we made the
Right.
trip to Houston in the hallowed halls of the Houston Country Club. Oh my gosh! And you can imagine Kevin pulling up, in a car just packed with all Parker's stuff from her dorm, and the valet, and everybody's pulling up in these beautiful, expensive cars, and we got that thing packed to the gills with stuff. I mean, people had like drawers hitting them in the head, I'm sure, as they were valeting the car. But we did make it in there, and it was a gorgeous wedding. And Taylor Anderson married Caroline Torn, and she is my goddaughter, or she calls me Uncle Mo. So I'm somehow, pretty connected to her through her dad and mom are great friends. So anyway, fun times there. But yeah, to your point, Kev, the and her dad, by the way, one of my best friends, um, officiated the wedding. He's an ordained minister, as well as one of the founder owners of Camp OTX. He's got his license, and so can you imagine that, walking your daughter down the aisle and then turning around and then doing the ceremony. He did
Who
a
gives
great
this
job.
woman? I do. Yes,
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
exactly. So there was a pastor from Second Baptist who did a little something, but he did the majority of the message and the whole thing, and did a great job, I might add. Savannah Bananas here, I'm glad you brought that up, Kev, because 103,000 people were there. Looked like an unbelievable scene. We obviously, if you have social media, you've seen the Savannah Bananas. They're sort of like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. And for a segment of fans, maybe young children, families, whatever, maybe they're not for the old school kind of folks.
Right.
But it's been a great, very, very popular thing. And they seem to be, because of their roots there in Savannah, they seem to really, really connect with the southern part of the country. Although I think they've done well in other parts of the country, and they're just entertainers. They sing, they
Right.
bring in interesting guests. I think Dude Perfect was there.
That's
But
what I
what was
heard.
interesting to me, Kev, is that there was this backlash, and I don't know who it was from, of people kind of like making fun of the Aggies or something for so many people showing up to watch the Savannah Bananas. And my response to that, and I saw people that covered it and thought it was a pretty neat deal, responding to those people. There's been a lot of hate out there. There's been a lot of haters. There've been a lot of people, and it really, and this happens to me sometimes. And I understand when there's controversy, we have to weigh in on it and all that kind of stuff. But like, if you go to something and you truly enjoy it, say you're a reporter and you were there and you covered the event, like, what do you care about the people out there tweeting and making fun of it? Like, what? Why does that anything? Like, obviously, over 100,000 people cared to show up, watch it, thought it was fun. There's the field. Somehow they put that in Kyle Field, the famous legendary Kyle Field. And again, Kevin, you've got little kids, you've got older kids, you've got, it runs the full gamut. I'm sure there are people in your family that might not love it, and I bet there are people in your family you could take, Kevin, and they would just eat it up. Like they
Yep.
would just love it, right?
Right.
So I find it interesting that we now live in this weird social media fishbowl that it we we sort of have to, not only can we go enjoy something, but then we have to protect it and like get mad at the people who don't like it. And it's almost like politics, like, just take up for your whatever, say your piece, whatever, but like, you don't have to respond to those people. That's why I think people think it's a cool thing on Twitter sometimes if somebody says something awful or mean to you, or let's say me, who I'm somewhat of a public figure because I've been doing this for years and years, and I have some opinion that everybody hates. And there's this need to, you see people do it in the media all the time, Kevin, like respond to someone that says something mean or hateful. And then you look and that person barely even has like any followers or anything. Like, why are you letting these people pull you off sides? So I would just instruct all the banana people to just enjoy it. Like you had a fun time. Who cares if people?
These guys are not out to create serious stuff.
No,
this is meant to be entertainment. This is the Harlem Globetrotters for baseball, but done by a different generation that makes things just quicker, easier, fun. And the great thing that I heard today was every single one of these seats here, all the same price.
Good. And you know what? This guy who started that has kept this thing private. Like I think he's probably had all kinds of chances to sell it. Can you imagine now that he's proven that he can sell out ballparks and football stadiums and all that stuff? There are tons of people who would want to buy this organization, this franchise.
And if you couldn't make it, guess what? It was free to watch on YouTube.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, that's a cool part of that story is the dude has run it as like a family business, and I'm sure he has had to hire a bunch of people, but he hasn't sold it. And so anyway, yeah, interesting. Kev, while I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to think on the Baylor front. Baylor did sweep Tech on Saturday, and that was good. That was great. Got 2 wins there. The Baylor baseball. And then they lost. Sadly, the bullpen coughed one up. They had a chance to sweep the Red Raiders. And then softball, huge win for Baylor softball. They did beat number 2 in the land, Texas Tech, 8-7 on, I believe that was Saturday. And that was huge. That's a huge win. That's like beating Oklahoma in softball. It's a monster breakthrough. Now, the downside, Kevin, the next day she came back and what's her name? Nyjah Kennedy or something like that. Nyjah, I don't have it in front of me. She's an unbelievable pitcher for the Red Raiders. And she threw a perfect game. They beat Baylor 8-0 and she threw a perfect game. But, congrats to both those the Baylor programs because you had pretty good weekends, I think, for both. Now, apparently, Kevin, that coach at Tech now is in weekends in series. He's like, I think I saw a note. He's like 87-0 in series. Like the guy doesn't ever lose a series. Now, of course, when you have the best pitcher in the country, that helps too. One other thing, Kev, your group, you're the PA man for the Baylor women's tennis. They bowed out sadly and lost to A&M, I believe, 4-1, and just got singles got them, and that's a good team. It's a good
men,
team.
Though,
yeah.
Get to
well,
host.
I know, but I was building toward this.
All right.
The men made the Sweet 16. And then Friday night, and Kevin, I hope you'll go out there, even if you're not the PA man for that group. Maybe they'll let you jump on. Y'all could be co-PA. But that group Baylor men's tennis will play Pepperdine, and that is in the Sweet 16. And the Bears host that. What do we call these, Kevin? Super something, super regionals, super something like that. But it's going to be out there at the Herd Center. And it's awesome. so the Bears made the Sweet 16. Sorry, Kev. What were you going to say? I mean, I know you were going to say a similar thing, but anything you would like to add to Baylor men's tennis? Okay.
That's it. Yep.
Who's our favorite player on that team? I like that Badenhorst.
Yeah.
I think he's South African, maybe. Or is he Great Britain? I think he's South Africa. I like that kid.
Yeah.
I like him. Trying to think who else I like on that team. There's some really good players on that team.
Yep. I like Louis.
I do too. Yeah.
Yep. Louis Bowden. It's a good guy.
Is it Bowden?
Yeah.
Okay. I think Louis is from the UK.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then our man Badenhorst is from South Africa. If you're an American player, high school player, need not apply.
Right. Yeah.
And it probably needs to become a little more like that in golf. The Baylor women's golf has really gone big international, and it's paid dividends. I would say the men, even though McGraw, who's the former coach now, had retired recently, I would say they probably needed to do more of that. I think there are some unbelievable collegiate golfers, international players. And I would say the men's game on men's golf, it still skews toward young American players. The women's coach, Jay Goebel, just went out there and he just said, "Hey, let's go. Let's get the internationals and let's get them rolling." Okay, Kev, I've put it off long enough. Now we do have Joe Hoyt from the Dallas Morning News is going to join us and talk about Cowboys rookie camp. They had that starting, I think, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And unfortunately, it was during some of my show, and I couldn't make it out there. I really wanted to go see Caleb Downs in person, Devin Moore, some of these new Cowboys rookies, and get to see some of those guys in person. You don't get to see a lot, but you at least get to see them racing around out there doing their thing. And then there'll be a big mini camp, veterans mandatory mini camp coming up in not too long. And that'll be, I think in June, sometime like middle of June or something. And they'll get the veterans and the rookies together and let them run around out there in the underwear Olympics, you call it. So Joe Hoyt joins us. And then I did want to say a quick word, Kev, and we'll get to our breaking news. We have breaking Dallas Mavericks news. And I appreciate our Twitter audience being there for us. And because and then we do know now, appreciate it, Kevin, for the reminder that the NFL schedule release will be next week. That's a big thing. We already know who everybody's playing. We just don't know the order of it and how the schedule lays out. That's always fun. We love getting the Big 12 schedule and doing all that. And then we love getting the NFL schedule. And then we'll, of course, analyze the Cowboys schedule. We'll look at some of the other teams. Kevin will be looking at the Colts schedule. Again, Kevin knows exactly every single team the Colts are playing. I know exactly every team the Cowboys are playing. What we don't know is how those will be laid out, what the road trips will be like. Do you have to play 3 road games in a row? Are there some tough back-to-back? What does November and December look like? These are the big questions we ask when we break down when it gets cold, when you got to travel up there to Washington or the land of the Eagles or go see the Giants and it gets chilly up there in December. What do those games look like? What does those last 4 games look like? The all-important sprint to the finish. We got that next week. Kev, we don't have a day yet. We just know in general it's next week, or has the NFL Network said?
It's usually next Wednesday. I think last year they kind of delayed it a bit, but it's usually that second Wednesday in May. So
I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Kev, we've had a firing in the NBA today, but before we get to our major breaking Mavericks news, we lost Coach Mosley, my cousin. But I do know Coach Jamal Mosley, and I've shared a laugh over the years. Used to be with the Mavericks, had a good run with Orlando, and they were up in that series, up 3-1, and they let it get away from them. Hey, the Celtics did too. They're not firing that coach, are they? Coach Mazzulla, I think he's still the coach, but I guess maybe they have the excuse of not having Tatum for Game 7. This coach didn't have Franz Wagner for a huge chunk of the season. I mean, Ben Caro's kind of up and down guy. When he's on, he's great, but leading that series 3-1, the old Magic let it get away from them. And Jamal Mosley has paid with his job. And I once got this random text, Kevin, from Donnie Nelson. He was the GM of the Mavericks. I've known Donnie a long time. And it said, "Congratulations, Coach Mosley." And I just was trying to put it together on why in the world I would be getting that. And Kevin, it was because Donnie, the Mavericks had just won the Summer League, and Donnie was looking at his contacts and he saw Mosley. And so he accidentally congratulated me for leading the Mavericks Summer League team to a championship. What he meant to send to Jamal, and I had to tell him, this is Matt Mosley, the radio guy, the local Dallas radio guy. So that's how far I go back with Jamal Mosley, back when he was coaching the Mavs Summer League. And good guy. He
so
really
you've
is.
been confused before. Okay.
I've been confused for people and just simply confused. Yes. But Kev, also let's mention, how about those Sixers down and out, down 3-1, they're having to, and it's 3-2, and they're having to, play in, they're having to play on the road. They're having to do their thing, and they're in the land of the Celtic. They're in Boston, and they find a way. They come back and win the series. Now, Tatum did not play in Game 7, but Embiid stepped up in a big way. And then Kevin, in the closeout game in Game 7, which I believe was played right there in the hub city, right there in Boston, at TD Garden, our own VJ Edgecombe steps up and has 23 points. I can't see that little. What's after that? Boston. Oh, it has to score the game. Okay, I thought it had how many assists or rebounds he had, but that was pretty huge. First time he's ever played in a Game 7. The rookie from Philly, from Baylor as well, VJ Edgecombe, comes up with 23 points. And
I do believe I saw this is the most amount of points by any rookie in any Game 7. Because not many rookies have played in a Game 7.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Because I was thinking about who would have been a good candidate for that between LeBron or Kobe. I'm just trying to think of people as rookies who are putting up big numbers. But a lot of the rookies, obviously, that get to play in a Game 7 wouldn't be on a team good enough to be in a Game 7. As a rookie. That's pretty good, Kev. I like that. I think I did see something along those lines, and I think that's right. Making history, the great VJ Edgecombe. Now, Kevin, without further ado, and we do have Joe Hoyt coming in. We'll take a break here in a few minutes, and then Joseph Hoyt from the Dallas Morning News will give us a good review of that Cowboys rookie mini camp. All right, Joseph does a nice job, and that'll be fun. He was going to do 2:00, Kev, and then they had a mandatory meeting get called. And I mean, in the newspaper business, that's not always fun. It's like, oh gosh, what is this about? So we'll keep our eye on that. What's the mandatory meeting about over there at the Morning News? Should I attend? As an alum, a Dallas Morning News alum, I think they would just kind of look at me like, what are you doing here? Kev, let's play the breaking news sounder because this is big. The Dallas Mavericks who have been in the market for a new GM since the firing of Nico Harrison, the complete joke who traded the franchise's greatest player since Dirk, and maybe you could argue the greatest player ever. I guess because of Dirk's longevity, we got to stick with Dirk. But still, Luka will probably go on to win multiple titles and probably will soon win an MVP. But the Mavericks, Patrick Dumont has been in the market. They did, Kevin, they tried to reach out. I think they really liked that Timberwolves president and GM, Tim Connelly, used to be with the Nuggets. So what they did is they went and hired somebody else that used to be with the Nuggets, and a man who helped put together the championship team for the Raptors circa 2019, I believe it was. And that is Masai Ujiri. And there he is. And Masai came up. He was a player, played overseas, came up with was in the Nuggets organization, and where I believe he might have worked for Tim Connelly back in the day, and then got to do his own thing, got to come up and he became a scout, and he became a executive vice president eventually, and kind of the head decision maker for the Toronto Raptors. And that lasted all the way. He was with the Raptors from about 2013 through 2025. Ujiri is now 55 years old, so he's still a good young man, and can do this for several more years. And he will try to pick up the pieces, the tatters, the left behind. And of course, the Mavericks were saved in some respects by getting that lottery pick and then picking Cooper Flagg. Interestingly, they now have someone in place in time with the lottery coming up on Sunday, I believe, and the Mavericks will probably end up picking somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 or 8, although that's what we thought last year, and they got to pick first overall. But I think it'll be in that 7, 8, or 9 range where the Mavericks will pick. And because this is a loaded front end of the draft, they should be able to get one of these tremendous college players in that range. And Masai Ujiri will be the one making that decision, or he'll have the biggest say in that decision. People want to know what will happen to Mike Finley, the former Mavericks great, and then this Matt Riccardi. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I think Masai will get into town, maybe meet with those guys, and then he'll decide he might want to bring in some of his own folks. But this is your new, and so let me tell you what they're calling him. Kev, this is the president of, and then he's the alternate governor. And that means that's kind of the role. Patrick Dumont is the governor, but I guess you can appoint somebody as the alternate governor. I would say that kind of also is a a little bit of a message to Mark Cuban. No, sir. No, sir. You're still around. We still enjoy having you around. You can sit down there and holler at the refs all you want. But, this thought that you were going to be back in charge and having a big say, no, sir. No, sir. I think Mark thought he was, and then kind of Patrick Dumont has kind of put him back in his place. And this becomes the lead basketball decision maker for the Dallas Mavericks, Masai Ujiri. All right. So big news coming out in the basketball world today for the Dallas Mavs. In the 2:00 hour, in addition to some Campus Confidential, and we may even break out. Kevin's been wanting to show you some uniforms. I'm not opposed to that, but we'll also get back into what this means for the Mavericks. Can they finally, these people that want to move on and act like, well, let's move on from Luka. Let's stop talking about it. I'm so sorry to inform you that we'll be talking about it till the end of time. All right. You don't make the worst trade in NBA history and just go, guys, let's move on. Let's stop talking about this. No. when the player is going to be around for another 10 years as one of the NBA's best players, you don't get to just move on and not talk about it anymore. All right, Joe Hoyt, Dallas Morning News, the fine beat writer, the Cowboys beat writer. He was at Cowboys rookie minicamp. He's going to give us a feel for everything he saw out there. His report is next.
Bumblebee Blinds of Waco and Temple is your one-stop shop for custom window treatment, transforming your vision into reality. Choose from a selection of shades, blinds, shutters, and curtains. Bumblebee Blinds stands behind our service and products, ensuring peace of mind with our trusted warranty. Call Bumblebee Blinds today to schedule your design consultation. Bumblebee Blinds, simplifying window treatments one covering at a time. BumblebeeBlinds.com.
This year, I made a New Year's resolution. I want every business to own a new copier from CTWP. Call me, Leroy the Copier Dog. Let's get you a copier delivered today. CTWP, your local copier company.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Providence. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org. At Schmaltz Sandwich Shop, we don't just make sandwiches, we build them with fresh ingredients, bold flavors, and homemade baked bread every single day. Toasty on the outside, goodness on the inside. Schmaltz Sandwich Shop in Waco is locally owned and operated since 1975 with 2 locations in Waco, Town West off Valley Mills and downtown off 5th Street. Whether it's lunch, dinner, or just a craving, we got the perfect bite waiting for you. The Riesel Fair is back and bigger than ever. Bring the whole family for a day packed with fun, from thrilling rides, delicious food, local vendors, and live music Friday night. Saturday music begins at 2 p.m. Admission is $5 for adults, 2 to 12 years, $3, 2 and under are free. Mark your calendar and join us for the Riesel Fair, May 7th through 9th. The Riesel Fair, where memories are waiting just for you.
It is the Mosley Show, and man, excited to have this guy today. We're gonna let him get going at some point pretty quickly because he's got a big time meeting after he appears on our show, and the man loves a good newsroom meeting. He also loves a rookie minicamp, and he's fresh off minicamp, 3 days of it. One day where they talk to the coach, they get to see the players. The first day, met with all the players. Joseph Hoyt, Cowboys beat writer for the Dallas Morning News, joining us now. And Joe, welcome back to the program, and appreciate you being with us today. I hope you had a good rookie minicamp. Was it successful?
Yeah, it was definitely successful. I got a rookie to challenge me to an Oklahoma drill. So, there you go. I think that means that, I think it means I have to actually do it now. So, we'll see we'll stay tuned for that.
Now, take us through that. I was going to bring that up, but I like the thought of, is that Barham or Barham?
Barham, yeah.
Yeah, Barham. Okay. This is the player from Michigan. Any player from Michigan scares Cowboys fans, especially a rookie. Although he did spend time at Maryland, so maybe that lessens the blow a little bit. But now, I've kind of read the back and forth, which I really enjoyed. It's kind of fun. But how did you kind of phrase the question? Because it led to a really fun back and forth. And by the way, at Barham when he was at Michigan, he didn't get to talk there. I don't know whose choice that was. Maybe his. I think the reporters at the draft basically said, they never made him available. And so now that he's been made available, Joe, he's kind of an entertaining, interesting guy. Now, why did you bring the Oklahoma drill up with him? Give us a little bit of the context to that. And then what was that back and forth with him?
Yeah, one of the things that Brian Schottenheimer said when he was describing some of the draft picks that stuck out to me, talking about Jay Sean Barham, was that, he's the guy you want in an Oklahoma drill. And a bunch of us old guys know what an Oklahoma drill is. And maybe some of the younger ones don't, because it's been kind of outlawed a little bit because of how physical it is, right? And it's a kind of, in the gridiron, short area, very physical drill. And so when he said that, I was like, oh, that's a great testament to what they think about Jay Sean Barham. So I was like, I'm going to ask him about it. I kind of did the preface of what Schottenheimer said. I asked him, when was the last time that you did one? And he goes, well, you and I could do one right now. Basically, like, let's go. And I was kind of expecting a little bit of like a ha, ha, ha. And I was like, yeah, let's go. 5 minutes. Let's go right now. And he was just stone cold, ready to go. And he's like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And then Nick Harris even said, like, hey, he played safety. And I jokingly was like, yeah, I got D3 offers. And Barham's like, all right, come on, let's go. It's not too far. Let's go. So I think, he very entertaining. He was a really good quote. And I think honestly, even that little interaction, while obviously not super serious, I don't think super serious, was just a good kind of window into the person. Because later on in the interview, so someone asked him, like, who do you model your game after? And he listed Ray Lewis, Aziz Al-Shaair, and Fred Warner. And he said he's more like Ray Lewis and Aziz Al-Shaair right now in terms of being a hitter that wants to take people's heads off. And he wants to become more of a Fred Warner, who's the sideline to sideline, versatile, all around, high IQ type of linebacker. So I'll tell you this. I mean, I think you got someone you got a really big linebacker. First off, he's every bit of 6'5", 245, or 6'4", 245. And I think that he's someone that's going to bring a lot of physicality to the position. No doubt a good choice for an Oklahoma drill if they still were to do it.
Matt Rule brought those to Baylor, and as I recall, in the early days, he was doing some of those in like pregame warmups. And, that sounds kind of interesting or fun until either somebody gets hurt or you go 1-11 that season, which he did. And it's not quite as, it's a little bit what we used to call high school Harry. It was a little bit of that kind of thing. And so anyway, but that's fun that y'all had that back and forth. I thought you handled yourself nicely, by the way, with Bill Clinton. Of all the things you do, you may get more acclaim for that than just about anything, because that thing's been passed around so many times. And that was really funny to see in real time. I think in that moment you were asking the question, you kind of thought almost somebody got kidding about somebody being out there. And then you looked over and you saw the former president, Bill Clinton, arrive at a pre-Cowboys draft. And that had to be a very surreal moment for you to kind of have the floor and be talking, and then the former president arrives.
Yeah, no doubt. And it was interesting because I'm asking Jerry this question, and you know this, like, we have an order of how you get questions. So, and we were having extensive conversations with everyone up there. So like 25 minutes had passed before it was like my turn to ask a question. And I had a specific story that I was working on that day. So I had to, and it was kind of outside of what other people were working on. So I had to get an answer for it. And so I started asking Jerry the question, and he kind of mumbles. And if you listen to the audio version of the actual broadcast, you can hear it clearly. He say, President Clinton's about to walk through these doors. But all I heard was President, blah, 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 and like he points. And I'm like, what is he talking about? And so I don't see anything at first. And I'm like, all right. And then I double take and I see Secret Service and Bill Clinton walking in. And I'm like, okay. And then he walks to the outside, instead of walking to the doors right there to get in the press conference, like the side ones, we're in the back. So I was like, okay, I said, well, on that note, I'm just going to ask my question. Jerry starts to answer, and then Bill Clinton walks in through the other side and says, I'm here to do a draft deal. And yeah, it was, Matt, this, like, there's so many times I've only been covering the team for 3 full seasons, and this will be my 4th. There's so many times where I'm just like, only on the Dallas Cowboys beat does this happen. Like, I remember I filed a story from an Irish bar on Hollywood Boulevard last year, and I looked down and saw Dolly Parton's star in the Walk of Fame after the Netflix premiere availability we had. And I'm just like, only on the Cowboys beat. So that fell into that category for sure. And I'm sure it won't be the last thing that makes me kind of have that reaction.
Yeah, I was trying to think if what has happened in my career that would rival that. And there's some weird stuff that happens. Although since, former President Bush lives here, we kind of see him fairly often. I've gotten to interview him on the radio a few times, but yeah, President Clinton arriving. I think that TO spectacle was one of the wildest things I ever encountered, just sort of everything that came with that, especially when he had what they called an accidental overdose and one time, and there were helicopters flying everywhere. But that was a reminder, when given the opportunity, you should always show up. You should always go to those things because you never really know what might happen. Caleb Downs is what everybody, huge pick, but nobody has criticized the Cowboys. Everybody has universally praised this. Now, having heard about him, written about him, you saw him at his initial press conference. How is that to kind of just, again, you can't tell much by watching these guys go through a workout. I know that, but just kind of watching him interact with not only the media, but his teammates and everything. Was there kind of an aura about him? Like again, we keep hearing very interesting stories. Even that one Chris Carter told the other day, I thought was kind of fascinating, of how Downs, how much confidence he has. What was your biggest takeaway from kind of getting to be around him and observe him around his teammates for the first time?
Yeah, I think the way I would describe it is he's already very professional. He already, Jerry compared him to Dak a little bit, right? In terms of how he handles his business and goes about things. And you can see it right away. I think, it doesn't matter if it's in number 18 or 2 or 00. This guy kind of comes out and does what you would expect of someone who's been in the pros for 10 years. Just the way he interacts with coaches, the way he interacts with media, he's very polished. And I think in terms of what we could gather from an on-field perspective, and this rookie minicamp is very basic. It's more about the install. It's more about just doing individual drills. But there's a balance to him on the field, even in the way he moves. There's a methodicalness to it. I think Christian Parker said it best. What they've already been able to see is that his brain is connected to his feet. And it's kind of a weird description when you just hear it, but then you see it and you're like, okay, there was a drill he was doing. It was a nickel drill that, Christian Parker was working hands-on with him, and it's just individual, and they're not even going 80%, right? But there's just a methodical way he was able to move back, run one way, but then also he starts pointing to another way to Devin Moore to signal, hey, so you got a crosser coming this way, let's exchange, while his feet never move off balance. It's pretty impressive, just the way he just kind of goes about things. And I'll say this, probably the most impressive thing, we saw that he asked Christian Parker right away when they saw each other after the first round, hey, let me get that playbook, right? And I had wrote before that on high school recruiting trips, he knew the defenses of schools he was going to. He learned them. He was ready for them. He did the same thing when he went in the transfer portal. And then he revealed to us that he basically downloaded 5 to 6 full defenses and what they do prior to the draft in the NFL, including the Eagles defense, to know, in just in case the Cowboys and Christian Parker drafted him. Devin Moore said he already knows the playbook, and I don't think they got the full playbook yet, right? I think, to take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. But he said, yeah, Caleb Downs already knows the entire playbook from what he received, and he was working at multiple positions and knew multiple things about that playbook. So he's as advertised, which means that there's going to be high expectations in Oxnard for what he looks like when they're actually going full speed, and obviously that's going to carry into the season too.
All right, and Malachi Lawrence, and the rest of them, by the way, sometimes you get out there and you see them in person for the first time, even just in uniform, and you're like, dang, okay, he's either bigger than I thought or thinner than I thought. I think we even had some thoughts about Ezraku, like, oh, this guy, we knew he wasn't that big, but then you're kind of like, oh, man. anything like that pop out to you when you looked out there and you were kind of observing, whether it be Barham or any of the guys that you were watching their movement or even their size, and to your eye, something surprised you?
Yeah, I mean, they haven't had a linebacker like Jayshon Barham, I'll say that. I mean, he is every bit of that, and he's bulky and wide. Like he looks, he's big, man. It almost like the way that you would see Tremaine Edmonds, when you first kind of saw him on the field, and you're like, man, that guy's like a middle linebacker. He's not as long as Edmonds, but like in terms of like the height, the bulkiness, it kind of feels similar. Devin Moore is tall, really tall. The corner they got in the 4th round. And then I would say with Malachi Lawrence, it's funny because we talk so much about Caleb Downs that Malachi Lawrence, despite being a 1st-round pick, has been very overshadowed, right, in terms of what he's bringing to the table. He's kind of the secondary thought. And I know he is the second 1st-round pick, but that's been kind of the way that, people have looked at him from the outside. They love this guy. Like, I think that there was a realm where they would have taken him at 12. If things fell a certain way, that was a discussion point. They would have taken him at 22, as we know from even last night's documentary about the pick is in. The thing with Malachi Lawrence that I think Cowboy fans would be most excited about, he's huge, but he's fast. This is a 4.5 guy with a 1.59 10-yard split. And when you hear that, you're thinking Micah Parsons type speed, right? A little bit off the edge. The thing about Malachi Lawrence is he has not accessed that yet. What he did at UCF was without the benefit of that speed. He has not tapped into it, and he knows it. This is someone that I think BT Jordan specifically is going to work with a lot. If they can get rid of his false steps, if they can make sure that he hits the accelerator 0 to 60 immediately, rather than getting to 0 to 60 a little bit like my Hyundai Elantra at times. Like, I think that this is a guy that could have a lot of success eventually in this league. I think Brian Schottenheimer called him a potential difference maker off the edge, and they love the talent there. They just need to be able to harness that first step, and he's willing. That's one thing I'll say. He understands that. He acknowledged it, and he wants to get better at that.
It sounds like you think at least 4 or 5 of these guys could make immediate impacts, and that was the hope, going into this draft. Trigg, I knew he would fascinate people because he's that rare talent, and you and I talked about it when we saw him at Pro Day, and we've watched the Cowboys tight ends coach, Lunda Wells, follow him around, spend the entire time with him. You also saw the downside to him. He was not prepared to do the vertical leap. He should have never jumped that day. He didn't really even know how to do it. And he put up a bad jump. Like, that's and then he told me later he was injured. Who knows with him? But even Schottenheimer had some interesting thoughts about him, because it's just, he is that, guy that's going to flash. And he was just unbelievable at times. Yet we watched how many tight ends go off the board with that guy not being drafted. Probably 30, right? 30 something tight ends. How did he come across when y'all interviewed him? And I think there's some kind of YouTube thing floating around where maybe the Cowboys people talked to him. I think maybe you or somebody said, hey, you ought to watch this. What's kind of the thought on him? And I guess, do you feel like he has a better shot than most undrafted guys to make it if he somehow gets the mental stuff figured out? Yeah,
and I'll say one thing too about the draft class in terms of immediate impact. Like, Caleb Downs is going to be a starter, right? Malachi Lawrence, I think, will be a rotational piece. Jayshon Barham, I think, could be a piece rather than I'm not expecting him to be a starting inside linebacker, week 1, right? So they did a good job of getting good pieces and a starter. And then I think trading for D Winters gives them a starter at linebacker too, where they can feel good about things. So I think they checked all those boxes. In terms of Michael Trigg, though, this was someone, even at Baylor Pro Day, one thing I was talking with scouts and some other people is the talent is very intriguing, man. I mean, the spectacular catchability is rare. You even start to have visions of what he could do over the seam with Dak Prescott, especially or in the red zone, going up and getting passes with those go-go gadget arms that he talked about, right? But it was pretty even clear after Pro Day that you talk to people and they're like, you need to harness that. You need to be able to really grab a hold of that, and he needs to be willing to do it. And I think therein lies the risk with him, which is why he fell to an undrafted pick. I do think when you look at what happened with him, and you know him too, he seemed humbled. Like, I talked to him at Pro Day, and I talked to him, this week at minicamp.
Yeah.
This was a humbled kid. I think that he had visions of being a 3rd round pick, a 4th round pick. And when you have to sit there for 3 straight days and you see all these tight ends go, I mean, that's a constant reminder that what the league thinks of you over and over and over again. And I think he understands that. He talked about it explicitly about maturity. Like, I need to mature. I need to get better. I need to do these things. I think that that's the first step in someone becoming a mature person, right? Is accepting that and understanding you have to do it. Now he has to go and do it. And I'll say this, Lunda Wells will be on him to do it. Lunda Wells is going to set a standard. And if he doesn't adhere to that standard, he's going to hear about it often. So, and if he doesn't adhere to that standard, he won't make the team. So I think that that's where it is with Michael Triggs. I mean, I think he understands that he needs to take those steps. And I think he took a first one by experiencing such a humbling thing about going undrafted when you didn't expect to.
And they gave him some, obviously some other teams probably thought about the same thing. Big talent, let's pay him some money. But they paid him $200,000, but they paid the TCU tight end the same amount, didn't they? About $200,000.
They might have paid the TCU guy more.
And that's
TJ Rogers, who also another talented guy. I think honestly, the fact that they did both of those, it tells you a lot about the situation with Luke Schoonmaker going into a final year of his contract, the former 2nd round pick. And I think that they want some more out of that position. So we'll see they have a lot of options. It could be Schoonmaker. We'll see.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, the only Cowboys tight end ever that was like this kid, that was like Trigg in terms of was a little bit of Martellus Bennett, but Martellus was also immature in a different way. He was a good enough, he didn't have the kind of baggage that would make him not get drafted, but he just couldn't put it all together. And he ended up having a fairly long NFL career, but it was based mostly on just having talent, having incredible talent. But in terms of the kind of things that Trigg can do, that's about the only thing I could think of. Because Witten obviously was brilliant, but he's not this guy in terms of athleticism. So I couldn't think of anybody, as far as the comp. Well, hey man, I know you got something, and so thank you for doing this. That other guy was very interesting. He's getting a lot of attention. The guy from the Navajo Indian, or Native American player.
Shiaj Peach. Yeah. I'll tell you, go watch that interview. I mean, he met everyone, learned their names, was answering their names, when he would answer the questions. Fascinating story. I mean, and I'll be honest, I didn't know much about that kid, Matt, going in the draft process. But I mean, this is a guy who is everything of 6'8", as you can imagine. Started at left tackle in the SEC every game last year. Was a walk-on that earned his way to New Mexico State and became a quick starter. I mean, that's going to be just an interesting guy to watch. Truly, will he make the team? Who knows? Is he just going to be a practice squad guy? But I'll tell you what, he'll be interesting to watch, and we're going to love to talk with him too. I mean, when you get out there too and talk with him, he's a really, really good interview.
All right, yeah. If I'm you, I'm skipping that. Don't take Barham up on that Oklahoma drill, even as athletic as you feel. And you classifying yourself as one of the old guys, by the way, you need a few more years before you could put yourself in that class. But you are old enough to know what an Oklahoma drill is, so I'll give you that.
Okay, I'll give
you that. The young Podell and some of those guys were probably like, now what is that? But all right, have a good meeting, and really appreciate you doing this.
Of course, Matt. Take care.
You bet. There he goes. Joe Hoyt, Dallas Morning News. And good to have him on, and good information as he brings us some thoughts coming from a weekend of rookie mini camp, just the whole scene out there. And That's interesting. I always that's one of the things I like going out there is just because you're always a little surprised at like how big somebody looks or how tall one of the DBs looks. Sounds like Devin Moore, and we knew he was a big cornerback. I think he's listed at 6'2" or 6'3", but you're just not, you as a reporter, a longtime NFL reporter, you have a thought like what a cornerback's supposed to look like, what a safety. I've seen big safeties. But then you go out there and you see a guy like Barham, and I know what he's talking about. You just occasionally, Eagles used to have some people like this. You're just like, goodness gracious. In terms of size, Urlacher back in the day was like that for the Bears. I always thought Trotter was a little bit like that when I covered the Eagles, even when they were kind of going on that run. McNabb was there. They were going to the NFC East title game like every year. And then they broke through one year with McNabb in the Super Bowl when they had T.O. They didn't win the Super Bowl, but they played in the Super Bowl. And Trotter was a little bit like that. But just occasionally you see a linebacker, and that's the kind of linebacker Bill Parcells wanted. And he arrived in Dallas back when I got on the beat in 2003. And much to his horror, and the Cowboys had good linebackers, but it was Dexter Coakley and Dat Wynn and these little mighty might linebackers. They were good. But even his lineman, who was a good defensive tackle, was not what he envisioned. It was Leroy Glover, I believe was his name. Good player. But they were just so undersized. And he wanted a 3-4 with just monster linebackers. And what he started to build was that first draft, much like they got two players in this draft. He got, it wasn't his first draft, I'm sorry. It was his third draft. He got in 2005, he gets DeMarcus Ware and Marcus Spears. You see him all the time on ESPN now. So he gets his stand-up rush outside linebacker. He gets his tackle in Spears, and he starts to put a more of a massive team together. And he brought in, from his time with the Jets, Jason Ferguson. I believe he was number 97. And then he just started drafting Jason Hatcher, Chris Canty, big dudes. Now, I'll tell you another undersized guy that he did love, who ended up playing nose tackle, was a guy from Auburn that they got in the 7th round. And unfortunately, this guy ended up later on having some just kind of, I don't know, wasn't quite right from a mental health standpoint. But Jay Ratliff was this guy's name. They got him in the 7th round, and that guy could just flat out go. He could play. All right. That was a good first hour. I mean, Kevin, do we have anything left? Yes, I think we can. We'll do this Mavericks breaking news. Just a reminder, Masai Ujiri, who was with the Toronto Raptors from 2013 through 2025. Spent about 13 seasons there. Before that, he was with the Nuggets. The Nuggets had a breakthrough season before this latest group. They had a season somewhere around 2012 or 13 where they won 57 games. This was prior to Michael Malone. Anyway, they had a breakout season in there, and it was Ujiri who had helped put that team together. But before they got Murray and before the Joker, they had this one group that I used to love, the Nuggets, and it was Gary somebody Jr. I don't know, man. For some reason, I fell in love with one of those Nuggets teams. Around that same time, then I love the Jazz because Quinn Snyder put a good team together right before Donovan Mitchell got there. And they were kind of good with Hayward and Rudy and some of that bunch. But anyway, just certain NBA teams I kind of fall in love with. And the team that Ujiri helped put together for the Nuggets was a team I really, really liked. Then he gets the Raptors. Now, he trades Kevin, who was the great player for the Raptors for so many years, but he traded him for DeRozan. He traded DeRozan and got Kawhi, and they won the championship. And then they went through a period of time with 7 straight trips to the playoffs, lots of division titles, but they would never quite get back to like that one season with Kawhi. And they made a strong play to try to keep him. But Kawhi was always looking to get back. He wanted to get to the West Coast. After all his years with the Spurs, and then with Toronto, he was looking to get to the West Coast, where he remains and still a great player, but not a guy. Kawhi was on a pace to be like an all-time great type player. In the conversation with whoever you'd think, not maybe quite LeBron, but whatever is right under LeBron. And unfortunately, with the way he handled his exit with the Spurs, and then the way he's just kind of flailed around with injury issues for the past 5 or 6 seasons, he kind of marred his career. I would say he was on pace with being considered on the same level as KD. And for all of people that, thought KD just went title hunting, which he did, by the way, with the Warriors, I don't think we would put Kawhi's career quite on the KD level. At least if I'm spitballing this, I would put him on a lower level than Durant. Although, again, give it to Kawhi. He went and won a title as the main guy. After winning titles with San Antonio as a young guy joining the Big Three. He went and did his own thing, and he got himself a title. After that, hadn't really done anything. From just a huge playoff or championship winning caliber is what I'm talking about. All right, Kev, let's do what we usually do at 1:30. Let's do some Campus Confidential. Let's talk some it's never. And you say, well, Matt, I don't know. I mean, what's going on in college athletics today? There's always something. I promise you that. We'll do that next.
Lake Waco Golf Club is a semi-private facility nestled along the north point of Lake Waco, one of the few facilities in Texas to have a full 18-hole regulation golf course as well as an executive 18-hole par 3 golf course. Plus, check out their bar and grill, which is open to the public. And if you're not a golfer, then enjoy time by the pool or even enjoy fishing around Lake Waco. Become a member today and call to book your tee time. Lake Waco Golf Club, where family and friends fun begins. Check them out at lakewacogc.com for more information.
When you strive for greatness, you have a target on your back. When it comes to finances, we're all targets for scammers. But with the right game plan, you can protect yourself. Don't get faked by fraud.
Here's a tip. If you get a call saying they're going to lock you in jail for missing jury duty unless you pay a fine, that's fake. Scammers use scare tactics to force you to act without thinking. Just hang up the phone.
This message is brought to you by Central National Bank.
The all-new 2026 Jeep Cherokee is back, roomier, smarter, and ready for city streets, the highway, and the road less traveled. Advanced safety tech, available 4x4 confidence, and premium comfort, and an amazing 37 MPG built for weekdays and weekend getaways. And meet the all-new 2026 Dodge Charger, now in 2-door and 4-door. Legendary muscle with modern performance, next-gen tech, and unforgettable style. If you've been waiting for something new, this is it. Visit Allen Samuels Dodge in Waco. Come by, let's be friends.
Enjoy a quiet atmosphere with beautiful river views at the Brazos Landing, located in Waco along the Brazos River across from McLean Stadium. Enjoy homemade dishes like shrimp and grits, chicken piccata, braised short ribs, prime New York steaks, and more. Plus, enjoy a delicious dessert like creme brulee or key lime pie. Open for lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Brazos Landing in Waco, the only place where I-35 and the Brazos River meet.
It's the Restore Clarity Focus Patch, my little secret weapon for staying sharp, focused, and on task. Each box comes with simple instructions inside, so you always know exactly how to apply it. Each patch lasts for 3 days. I love that I can wear it all day.
Boy, it looked effortless.
Man, watch this.
Layups, floaters, threes. He was like an unsolvable equation.
I was born like this.
His resilience, his strength, his belief, adversity never stood a chance.
Know your power.
It is the Mosley Show, and that was good stuff from Joe Hoyt talking about rookie minicamp. He was out there. Joseph Hoyt right in the middle of it when asked about Oklahoma drills. Jay Sean Barham, the inside linebacker who may end up as an edge player, challenged him to some Oklahoma drills. I do not think that is something you want to do with Barham. Whoa. I mean, that is a big dude, but interesting information coming out of there. Well, we appreciate it. We're appreciative of Schmaltz's, Central National Bank, our presenting sponsor. And then a huge week, we're going to be out there for this Scott Drew Invitational. Scott Drew golf tournament happening out at Bear Ridge on Friday. Rogue will be out there broadcasting. We're going to have... we'll be out there on one of the holes. We're getting all that sorted out. Unbelievable sponsors. There'll be some of the Baylor basketball players. Some of the coaches will be out there. I don't know if Scott's going to be playing or just going around visiting with everybody, but it will be a good time. John Morris, Mosley, Tommy Barfield. We will all be broadcasting right there by the side of one of those holes there as people come through. And that'll be great. Boy, some of the Cornerstone and Campus Realtors and it's golfballs.com is one of the sponsors for this thing. And I think the caps and some of the apparel. I talked to one of the investors in that company over the weekend at this wedding that I attended, and he was talking about how great that organization is. Some really, really good sponsors, and this is going to benefit the Baylor basketball program in a very meaningful way. So Michael Hillman and his group there, he's the Cornerstone owner, founder, Home Healthcare. Man, that's big time. And then, Kevin, I don't think I said this recently. The Dancing Bear Pub, they were with me when I was at the radio station over at ESPN Central Texas. They're coming over They're coming over to the Mosley Show. And so we just keep adding partners and people who want to be a part of the Mosley Show. And in fact, there's a new dealership that's wanting to be on with us. And so, Kevin, we're very appreciative that the people of Central Texas want to be associated with what we're doing. All right. One of the fastest growing YouTube shows in the country. Kev, is that an overstatement? Perhaps it is. But I think it's, it's growing. It's growing. All right. At its own pace. And we still have openings. Like if you're listening on Twitter right now and you have it subscribed on YouTube, we will accept, at least for the next couple of weeks, we'll accept new members. And so you just subscribe, and then you can send us little notes and just shout outs. Hey, we're out here. We're listening, Mosley. Here's a thought. Here's what I wish you had asked the Cowboys guy. You can always, I'm all about feedback, mostly positive feedback. No, I'll deal with any of it. So happy to have you. Very interesting to hear Joe Hoyt talk about Michael Trigg and like what the Cowboys think of him. We had, and then Kevin, I don't know if we have time later. We might want to. That's interesting. This thing I sent you, Kevin, the Michael Trigg, him being interviewed by the Cowboys. I think that was on the Cowboys YouTube page. Very, very interesting stuff. And I thought that's it's fascinating to think of a guy with that much talent being that humbled. Now, will that lead to him maybe cleaning up some of the maturity things that led to him not being drafted? Let me tell you, he would have been drafted in the second or third round at the latest, just based on his talent. But he did have some baggage. And I think he's going to have to, I mean, again, I hesitate to ever say you don't want to separate from your family. You've got family that love you and they want to support you. But the way I always heard it was that Michael's father was so involved, so heavily involved in everything he was doing that was a bit of an issue at the different places he was, USC, Ole Miss, then gets to Baylor. I would say Jared Anderson, his tight ends coach, and some of the people at Baylor, Dave Aranda, did a really nice job of, and Sawyer and everybody else, helping him grow as a person. That could have been an explosive, awful situation where he and Mac Rhodes had a run-in before one of those games. I think it was the Arizona State game. And I'm told the old Michael Trigg, that thing could have gotten really out of control, but that Trigg actually handled it pretty well based on everything that was, I mean, again, I don't know the whole story, but that, the athletic director for Baylor down there having words with the coaches and players before the game seems, looking back, extremely unnecessary. And anyway, I hope that was not held against Trigg, because in that instance, while you might have an issue with Trigg wearing a different color under whatever, but if you do, go say something to his coach or something. You don't go up and grab a player minutes before he's about to go try to play a football game. Now, some of the things that made Mac good were some of the things that would drive you nuts. His hands-on, in-your-face attitude a lot of times was helpful to Baylor. It could also be destructive. And in the end, there was some self-destructive behavior that ended Mac's career with Baylor, which is amazing because he was one of the more respected administrators in all of college athletics. And to have that happen and have it go the wrong direction is still one of the more amazing things. Although with all the scandals we've had at Baylor, I don't really think, I should get to the point where I'm not surprised, but I still was. Okay. Kev, let's do some Campus Confidential. This is when Kevin Hoosier Hall jumps on and then gets into some of the college. And Kevin, I think I just sent you one. If I didn't, I'll get into it. But we've got more portal We got more portal madness, and one of them, Kevin, involves the University of Tennessee basketball team. Man, they've made another addition, and whoa, man, it just never stops. But Kev, where would you like to start today?
Well, I wanted to see if Jake Lindsay talking about Doug McNamee gives you hope for the future of Baylor athletics with this here.
Me's hire and involvement as an alum got me really excited. You know, Doug and my dad went to the same high school, so known him a very long time, and his passion for the fans and the mission of the university really resonated with me as a fan and an alum. And then when the opportunity arose, that was a big part of my excitement to take the job, was knowing that Doug was on board. And he's been tremendous from, you know, the support he's given us and the plan, and then not only a short-term vision, but a long-term vision. That had me really, really excited. And I think, you know, our ability to execute within the portal has been directly tied to the support that Doug's given us.
I'm asking right now, Kevin, I didn't really get to concentrate. I want to hear from you on what he said, because I'm thinking, you know, Jake's needs to be on with us, right? I mean, we sat on that story, and we were kind of the first to know about it about 2 months ago. And so anyway, he was supposed to be on with us Friday. We did get Kevin, though, before anybody else. It was nice to have Scott Drew talk about the class, and Jerome and Jake. So I need to provide that context, right? But You know me, I can be just a tad bit competitive. And so I want Jake, and we'll do that as soon as we can. Tell me a little bit, give me a little summary, Kevin, what you think he just said, and I will react to that.
Just kind of his attachment to Doug, through his dad going to the same school, and then his heart for the department, the athletics, as a fan first, and then being attached to that kind of invigorated him to want to come on board and be a part and take this new role.
You know, I'm for change. I'm for this didn't work last year. You know, whatever their approach to the portal last couple of years, in fact, led to some misses. I don't know, you know, doesn't really matter. I probably have some thoughts on maybe the approach they took, why it went wrong. I think Scott needed, and his staff needed to take maybe of a harder core, you know, and not just like have people bring them players or suggest things. I think that's happening moving forward. I think there's evidence of that in this new portal class. But I think bringing Jake on, I told you this, Kevin. I've said this, I think, on our show. This is a little bit more. You can do it different ways. At Tech, they've done pretty well in the portal. They probably have more money than Baylor, but they have a GM who's kind of does his own thing, and he's not on the coaching staff. At Michigan, the associate head coach is their GM, so he has a huge say in what players they're bringing in. And, of course, Dusty May does as well. Well, that seems to be working pretty dang well, right? Now, I'm sure having $20 million NIL budget also works out pretty nicely, or whatever it is at Michigan. Baylor has a fine. Let's not act like Baylor's poor. We're not going to come out and act like Kelvin Sampson and say, oh, we're the poorest school in the Power Four. I think Baylor is around the top 20 in terms of money. I really do. Okay, so let's not act like, oh, nobody's giving the program any money. But Jake has just an interesting background. MBA, coached at Grand Canyon for Bryce, played for Scott, and also has been on the NIL medical kind of stuff and insurance. So some of the business side of it, and maybe even the contract stuff, has a little bit of a feel for that stuff too. So it's going to be great. And Jake, by the way, was reaching out at the end of last week, because even though they just had their third child, he was ready to come on. So I guess they wanted Kevin to do something for the Playfly Plus, whatever, you know, which is great, which is fine. Okay. Am I acting like it's fine? It's fine, but we need to have Jake on soon, and I will try to make that happen. And but very appreciative. That was great having Scott on Friday. I'll keep reminding myself of that. Kev, what else do you have for me? I mean, the Jake thing is great.
Yeah. So Obinna Ekezi just committed to Louisville after reclassifying to the 2026 class as a 7-footer.
Good. I was worried about that roster. I didn't think they had enough talent. So I was really glad they finally found somebody.
Right. Is this now the thing that pushes Louisville into the top 10 in the preseason rankings? What do you think about that?
I think the preseason rankings don't make any, don't really matter. And sometimes you see teams that are like top 10 don't even make the NCAA tournament. That said, they've made a monster push. They got the duo. It's now like LeBron and the Dream Team. You got the guy at Kansas, the big man, Flory Badunga. Like, tell you what, let's get so and so over here and let's both go to Louisville, like as a package deal. It's like, my gosh. And then they somehow. And we'll talk about this Tennessee thing because Tennessee is going to be a scary roster as well with what they just added. If that kid stays in college, I can't remember exactly where he is in the whole NBA thing. This kid you're talking about, Kevin, as you said, reclassified in the 2027 class, was like number 2 overall, the number 1 center, 7-foot, great player. As you said, like Obinna Ekezi. Kev, put them in the top 10. Put them there. I mean, like it's Badunga. Who else do they have off the top of your head? Can you remember some of those Louisville kids? Who went with Badunga? They took somebody else that we know. It's like really, really good. I bet they've got 5. Can you imagine? Like nobody is playing by the rules. There's no way in the world this is like, we're doing this with our rev share money. No, not in a million years. It's all NIL money.
Jackson Shellstead from Oregon was the other big one.
Yeah, he's good. This guy's good. Kev, just on paper, how do you not put these guys in the top 5? I really would. I think just out of respect, you put like Michigan and UConn in the top 5, and you put Duke there because Duke gets anybody they want.
Florida.
I find it interesting. Florida for sure. I find it interesting that Kentucky struck out as much as it did. Like, know they have plenty of money. Like, why? Huh?
That surprises you with what they kind of like. They're underwhelming anymore.
Buddy, Louisville, let's not act like Louisville's been that great in recent years since they've gotten better with Pat Kelsey, but there's not like Louisville's that much ahead of Kentucky. Kentucky is a blue blood, unbelievable basketball program with tons of money. What do kids want to do now? They want to go make huge money. I find it shocking.
I think
that Kentucky went out and
Louisville
just
is doing this because of coaching, and Kentucky's doing the opposite, and so they're kind of crossing paths.
It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter who your coach is. It's honestly all about the all-powerful dollar. I mean, if a kid's thinking about Calipari or Pat Kelsey at Louisville or Mark Pope at Kentucky, and Kentucky comes in there with more money, I would think the kid's going to go to Kentucky because it's more money. So if there's some kind of thing happening where kids are taking less, I'll tell you what, they screwed up. This is a Baylor angle. I think you'll like this.
Say if you're talking about a Baylor angle, be careful if it's more about money than it is coaching. Be careful there.
I'm not going to be careful with anything. I've got a completely separate point. Alvin Brooks III, they scapegoated him for kind of a subpar season, and they fired him and threw him overboard. And that guy is an unbelievable recruiter. I mean, is that really that smart to you? The right before you go into the portal, to throw some dude under the bus and fire him, and he ends up over at NC State. NC State probably ends up with a better class than Kentucky. Not smart. Not smart. That's my Baylor angle. So don't caution me, sir. Hey, what else do you have?
Before you get into the Tennessee stuff,
Yeah.
what do you think about the final Rivals 150 class here? Does it give you confidence in Baylor, speaking of Baylor, that Dylan Mingo is number 7?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And this is Rivals. I'd be interested to see kind of like what ESPN did with this. But I think Mingo, and then having Elijah Williams as like a top 30 kid, puts Baylor firmly into the top 20 in recruiting. Now, Baylor has, I'm sure there are people out there, we don't want another one and done. Well, I don't think that's going to happen because Dylan may have to, injury redshirt this season. And that would provide Baylor with a great player coming in the next season, and then hope that you keep Caden Mingo and you get to play them together. I mean, Duke had the brothers, the Boozer brothers. Doesn't always work. Think of like, who are the best college basketball brothers over the years? Well, the Morris twins at Kansas, and those guys both went on to long NBA careers. Can you think of any others? The guys, did the Lopez brothers, one of them went to Stanford.
Yeah.
One of them,
they were together in college.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just trying to think of brothers that were on the same team. Doesn't happen that often. And has it ever happened with the Baylor Bears? Well, let me tell you an old story, Kevin. At one point, Vinnie Johnson, I don't think they were going to get to play together. But when Vinny graduated and went to the NBA, a couple of years later, here comes the great Eric Johnson, Vinny's little brother. And they were going to pair him with Carlos Briggs and Michael Williams, who ended up having a great NBA career. It was going to be the dangest thing you'd ever seen. It was a group of guards unlike anything the Bears had put together. This would have been mid-1980s. Michael Hobbs could jump out of the gym. You were going to match him up with like Middleton and all these guys. Anyway, much like what always happens to Baylor, we can't have nice things. And there was a scandal. And it was one of the dumbest scandals ever. Like in today's world, it would not. They took down Jim Haller on the dumbest. I mean, it was like some player recorded him doing something, and it was not even that big of a deal. But back then, every violation we made into some huge deal, and it ended Jim Haller's coaching career. And it was literally a big man, like taping him talking about steroids or something. And I promise you, Jim Haller barely knew what steroids were at that point. It's not like he was out, let's get this guy a vial of steroids. It was total entrapment. And the morning news took part in it because they were excited to shut programs down back then because it came on the heels of of the SMU scandal. All right, Kev, you didn't expect me to get into one of those kinds of things. Let me tell you who of these players, the ones that scare me the most. What I wonder is if that kid going to Arkansas is kin to the kid that plays for Iowa State. There's a Toure, spells it exactly the same name, that plays for Iowa State. I don't know if they're related or not. I love the Mingo one. I just think watch out here because the thing that jumps off the page to me is Cal's back in the game. Cal's he's playing the portal game, but he's back to playing the huge high school recruiting game as well. That's scary if Coach Cal has that kind of budget, and it certainly seems that he does at Arkansas. What a great hire. What a great hire. They were sick of him at Kentucky. We're tired. We need a new brand. We need a new name. We're sick of Cal. Cal gets to kind of reinvent himself, go to Arkansas, and he's the toast of the town there.
Abdu is not related to Killian.
Gotcha. Stokes is scary because, and the reason I don't overreact to any of these players is because we thought Darren Peterson was going to be this monster for Kansas. In fact, he was the opposite of that. He was a monster story who was not the monster that we thought we were going to see on the court. So some of these guys make it, some of them don't. I would say this past year, though, with Wagler and all those guys and the guy from Houston, Kingston, Flemings, that's one of the greatest college freshman classes I can remember in a long, long time, because it just there's not like a fall off. Like there's like 8 or 9 of those guys, and they're all great. Even that guy from Tennessee, Nate Ament's awesome. And then out of the blue, Cam, and we knew Cam was great at Baylor. I mean, he did a lot of nice things, but we did not know he was going to start showing up as like the number 15 guy in the class. And now he's 15 on a lot of big boards. Cam Carr is who I'm talking about. All right, Kev, what else do you have for me?
Well, we'll close it out with Rick Barnes of Tennessee getting Juke Harris. Your thoughts on this one, and what does it change for Tennessee, who seem to kind of lose in a lot of the portal?
Oh, I don't know how much they lost. I think they've spent a ton. That doesn't always necessarily mean you're going to do it, but in some ways, this was the most intriguing kid in the portal. This was because it was just waiting out there. And is he truly, is he for sure coming back to college, or is there still a chance he stays in the draft? Did it say? Okay, well, I mean, there's probably a way to find this out. I don't know why you would have that response. I mean, I can look it up on my. Oh, okay. So, this is the Wake Forest transfer, and if he stays and actually plays, I just think, coming off a season, listen to this: 21.4 points and 6.5 rebounds, 35 minutes per game. Also seriously considered UNC, Michigan, and Louisville. His agent commanded $5 million asking price. Goodness gracious. Tennessee is now, Kevin, projected to spend north of $15 million on players for the 2026-27 season, putting the Volunteers among the biggest buyers in college basketball. You say, well, what is Baylor's NIL? If Tennessee is $15 million, with Tunde not coming back and Baylor landing a lot of really nice players, but there's not, I would say your biggest ticket item is either Dylan or Caden Mingo. I would say Baylor was somewhere in the $6 to $10 million range for their basketball NIL budget. For instance, I think Indiana's probably 15.
Got to put your hope in coaching then, huh?
Well, I mean, the money I said, I don't think of that as a small amount. I'm just saying compared to Duke, UNC, Tennessee, it pales in comparison. Yeah, you put it in coaching, but you also put it on getting it right. Like making sure these kids come in and can flat out play. Like if the kid from Yale, who's apparently an unbelievably efficient player, he's got to be really good. Like if he comes in and is averaging 4 or 5 points a game, then you missed. It's not like, oh, did Scott and his staff forget how to coach? I mean, I don't know why they whiffed so horribly on Ratai. I hope we get to a point where we never mention the kid's name again, because I think he's a totally nice kid. Nothing against him personally, but like somebody screwed that up. I don't think they forgot how to coach, but like that was a horrific fit. I mean, I don't know. That goes down as the worst fit in NIL history. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm going to go ahead and go with that. Listen to this. Tennessee's two best players from last season are no longer in college basketball. That's Jacoby Gillespie and Nate Ament. JP Estrella transferred out to Michigan. Bishop Boswell went to Maryland. Jalen Carey went to Missouri. Cade Phillips sought a new path at A&M. And Amari Evans went to Texas. Here's what they're saying, though. Matt Norlander says Tennessee should have one of the best scoring teams in the country. And they said Barnes has managed a level of defensive consistency only one other team can match across all 6 years, and that is the Houston Cougars. Wow. Let's see. The other big ads, in addition to key returnee Dwayne Brown. Okay, here's your team, because I was looking for this. Day Ames from Cal. Miles Rubin, the center, who did that at Loyola Chicago. That's where Porter Moser used to be. Shooting guard Jalen Harrelson, 16 points a game at Notre Dame. And the combo guard Terrence Hill Jr. at VCU. Baylor liked him. That's a good, he was a point guard they liked. They also signed Kennesaw State power forward Braden Liu, 11 points a game. And they'll bring in one of the best three-point snipers in the sport off the bench, Tyler Lundblad, in a career 43.2% shooter from beyond the arc, and was a key player for a Belmont team that went 26-6. Wow. I mean, Kevin, I don't know. That sounds like a pretty talented basketball team right there, the Tennessee Volunteers. All right, that is Campus Confidential. That's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff to get to. And again, since it's Campus Confidential, Kevin, let's congratulate the Baylor men's tennis team. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Michael Woodson, for what you do. They had this unbelievable, what do we call that, ITA run where they were top. They beat some of these like unbelievable teams, and they made it to felt like it was the Final Four of that deal. That was an unbelievable run earlier this season. And now in the season of, this is the NCAA tournament. This is their version of the NCAA basketball tournament. They've made it to the Sweet 16. Kevin, let me see if I can throw out a Schmaltz's trivia. We don't have to do the full thing, but let me just off the top of my head throw this out to you. How many times have they done this now in the history of Baylor tennis? How many Sweet 16s have they reached? Would you like to guess without looking it up? Give me a quick guess.
To just the men's?
Yes, the men's tennis team at Baylor University.
All right. Fairly familiar with the women's. I'm going to say they've done this into the Sweet 16 5 times.
21 times.
Wow.
This is a dang good program.
Yeah.
All right. And the guy before Michael, Michael's a friend, so that's the main guy I like talking about. But the guy who got himself in trouble did really put a great program together. We gotta say that. He was good. Now he's off in Florida running something. He made some mistakes. Made some phone calls he shouldn't have made, as I recall. All right, Kev. But Woodson is always, he learned under him. Baylor kept Woodson as the interim, and then they made him the full-time coach. And honestly, he's become one of the best coaches at Baylor. After you put Scott Drew, it's it's Woodson or Glenmore. Or, I mean, I'm sorry. People get mad at me. Fee Mulkey with all those national championships. That's a sport that we didn't really know. And now we know it, and Baylor dominates in it. And now it's becoming like the real, Division I type sport, which is great for them. Okay. But I don't want anybody saying, oh my gosh, Matt, you forgot Fee Mulkey. I get it. She's awesome. We just take her for granted because she wins the national title every year. We used to really be like top equestrian, and I think we're still pretty good at it, but our horses used to beat everyone's horses, kind of like that horse at the Kentucky Derby. Kevin, let's show that at some point. That was unbelievable. That comeback at the Kentucky Derby, one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Okay, it is the Mosley Show. We continue on, and we're going to get back into big-time Mavericks breaking news. That is next.
It's the premier charity event of the year, the 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, presented by Ascension Providence. A fun evening filled with great food and drink, dancing, a spectacular auction, and more. This year's theme is Nashville Nights, Neon Lights, and Bullfights. Get your tickets now, donate, or be a sponsor. Help support the American Cancer Society to find a cure. The 2026 Central Texas Cattle Barons Ball, October 24th at MCC Highlander Ranch. For more information, go to centraltexascattlebaronsball.org.
This year, I made a New Year's resolution. I want every business to own a new copier from CTWP. Call me, Leroy the Copier Dog. Let's get you a copier delivered today. CTWP, your local copier company.
At Schmaltz Sandwich Shop, we don't just make sandwiches, we build them with fresh ingredients, bold flavors, and homemade baked bread every single day. Toasty on the outside, goodness on the inside. Schmaltz Sandwich Shop in Waco is locally owned and operated since 1975 with 2 locations in Waco, Town West off Valley Mills and downtown off 5th Street. Whether it's lunch, dinner, or just a craving, we got the perfect bite waiting for you. Bumblebee Blinds of Waco and Temple is your one-stop shop for custom window treatment, transforming your vision into reality. Choose from a selection of shades, blinds, shutters, and curtains. Bumblebee Blinds stands behind our service and products, ensuring peace of mind with our trusted warranty. Call Bumblebee Blinds today to schedule your design consultation. Bumblebee Blinds, simplifying window treatments one covering at a time. BumblebeeBlinds.com. The Riesel Fair is back and bigger than ever. Bring the whole family for a day packed with fun, from thrilling rides, delicious food, local vendors, and live music Friday night. Saturday music begins at 2 p.m. Admission is $5 for adults, 2 to 12 years $3, 2 and under are free. Mark your calendar and join us for the Riesel Fair May 7th through 9th. The Riesel Fair, where memories are waiting just for you.
Mosley Show back with you, and it's been a power-packed Monday. We do have some breaking news to react to that the Mavericks earlier today that happened, and let's see here, and we're getting news on maybe a possible guest for tomorrow, and we got to think about it. We'll be out at the big golf tournament. It's just going to be kind of interesting because so many golfers will be going through, and we'll figure it all out. But that'll be great. We'll be broadcasting from out there at the Scott Drew Invitational on Friday, the 8th. Kev, I real quick though, baseball nugget. These are a couple of different nuggets here. I got one PGA thing, and I got one baseball nugget. Kevin, my Pittsburgh Pirates, the local kid from Waco, we need to get him on sometime. It'll be hard during the season probably, but we could try. Ashcraft, Kevin, is from out kind of close to where you live. He's a Waco. We call him a Waco kid, but I think technically he's a Robinson kid. And he's become one of the better pitchers. Skeens gets a lot of the the juice and a lot of the attention. But Ashcraft, the pitcher for the Pirates, is having an awesome season. And yesterday, Kevin, they won 1-0. He gave up 4 hits. He went 7 2/3 innings. He was awesome. And were you going to say something, Kevin? I do think he kind of lives.
I was confirming he is from Robinson. Yeah. Yep, less than a mile from my house.
There you go. Now, Kev, you'll like this. This is a good MLB nugget. The Pittsburgh Pirates are in last place in the NL Central. And you're kind of like, oh, dang it. All right, that stinks. They're 19-16. You're like, well, that's not bad. That's not too bad. It's weird to be in last place when your record is 19-16. The Pittsburgh Pirates, as of today, Kevin, this is maybe before any game started today, have a better record than 13 of the 15 American League teams. The Pirates are in last place in their division, the NL Central, and they have a better record than 13 of the 15 American League teams. It's never been so good to be so bad in the American League. In the National League, it's never been so bad to be so good. And the Pirates are a very much improving team. They lost 4 games in a row. Now they kind of bounced back. I think they swept they put it on the Reds, and yet there they are, 19-16. All right, Kevin, here is my happy birthday to Rory McIlroy today. Kevin, would you like to guess how old Rory McIlroy turned today?
I think I know this because I talked about it on the Zach Owen show this morning. I believe he is 45.
37. You only missed it by 8 years. 37 years old. All right. If you said that on the Zach Owens today, you only missed it by 8 years. But this is interesting to me because at the age of 37, we're looking at Mickelson at 37, Tiger at 37, and Rory at 37. That was for Tiger. That's when things started to come undone, sadly. At 37, let's see here. At 37, Tiger had 74 wins. Rory had 30. Phil had 31. Top fives. Tiger had 148. Rory had 86. Phil had 84. Top 5 percentage. Tiger had 50.7%. Rory 30.9%. Phil 23.7%. Major wins. Tiger had 14. Rory 6. Phil 3. This was at age 37. Phil got a few more. Phil picked up about 4 more. So pretty amazing stuff there to share with you. Now, Kevin, what was our horse's name? God, I love that.
Golden Tempo.
All right, we'll get back to the Mavericks news, but Kevin, Golden Tempo. And this ended up being the most watched. And you're like, well, they didn't know it was going to be this great finish. How did so many people watch it? Well, I mean, I don't know. But the build up and whatever I saw that NBC put out there, massive viewership for Kentucky Derby. Now, this is a special thing. It's not like, everybody's going to start watching horse racing all the time. No. But it is special. People like the build up. They like the pomp and circumstances. They like seeing people all dressed up. Wow. What an amazing race. In fact, my horse racing buddy who used to own horses, and I did a radio show with him for years, Randy Galloway. I called him today just to compare notes. And I just wanted to talk about it because I could not believe how that horse at 23-1 finished. Kev, let's take, and I bet we have the call here. I love hearing the call. The guy at the Kentucky Derby. This is a place I'd like to go to. I'd like to be at Churchill Downs. I'd like to do this. Kevin, let's watch the race because this was one of the most amazing things you will ever see.
He's already starting to move now down the backside. He was 5 or 6 behind the last horse. Great ground-saving trip by Jose Ortiz. Sometimes when you're that far back, Mike, that everybody makes their decision already, and you're left a lot of open lanes. Now he'll shift him out as he knows he's going to run into trouble if he doesn't, and he takes aim on his brother. And what a tremendous kick by Golden Tempo.
That's a lot of ground to make up in the stretch of the Kentucky Derby. He's 7 or 8 lengths back at the top of the stretch still.
The numbers on how far he ran are going to be amazing, right? Wow. And this is the pedigree of this horse. He has been dead last or second to last in almost every race he's run, but made a charge like this at a moment like this. A historic moment, Nick Luck.
Truly, Mike.
And that was Tarico there at the end. And I mean, I couldn't believe, I thought the horse, they kind of opened up, Kevin, when I was watching I was at a wedding right before it started. And then later on, I'm like catching up and I'm like, oh my gosh. And of course they were showing it like crazy. And I found myself like retweeting it and all that. But I thought when those two horses went outside, sort of the jockey was going to take that horse kind of up on the inside of those horses. And I was kind of shocked.
I thought too.
Did you when you saw it?
Like
and
you saw a little bit of lane.
And I thought, well, he's going to shoot that gap. I never thought. I think what struck me as wild was occasionally you'll see it in a track meet or something. Somebody come from way back. Yeah. With horses, once the race is kind of established, in that top 5 to 7, somebody, it's going to kind of come from there. And so to see somebody start to mount that thing, you're like, well, this is interesting. What's going to happen here? And then it stayed outside.
In that backstretch,
I thought they would lose ground by going outside, but it didn't because they were on that straightaway.
The backstretch, there was the main group, and then when there was a group of 3, and Golden Tempo was out of the picture behind those guys in the backstretch. And even in the middle of the last turn, was still in last place before making the run. And then the choice to go outside could have been questioned, but in the end was not. First ever woman trainer to win the Kentucky Derby. Brothers on the jockeys go 1 and 2. Amazing.
Isn't that weird? Yeah, that is amazing. And I love my horse racing buddies, Kevin, when they start telling me, well, my exact guy hit on this person and that one. They love, it's kind of like people in their fantasy football. People love talking about their team. People love talking about what bets they made and everything. And that was that Golden Tempo. I also love this time of year, horse people, this doesn't surprise them. Those of us outside of the horse racing community, these kind of nuggets kind of do surprise us. And it's like every horse but one in the Kentucky Derby was a descendant of Secretariat. And you're just kind of like, what? What? It's just, hey, why would the greatest horse maybe ever, why would it not be put to stud and be involved in almost every lineage? Now, again, some of them maybe have more of Secretariat than others, but I think that's not as shocking a nugget to horse people, Kevin, as it is to the rest of us. Like, what? What? One horse? Meaning basically every bloodline in that race, except the one horse, has some lineage and some connection to Secretariat.
And we start May with a race, and we end May with the greatest spectacle in racing.
Which is?
The Indianapolis 500.
All right. And that's where they drink milk and stuff after?
That's
if
correct.
you win, if you're in the winner's circle, what does that have to do with anything? Why do you drink milk?
It goes to long ago, the winning driver. That's what he chose. He said, I don't want anything to celebrate other than a
Glass of
milk. And so that's where the tradition started.
Did you know, have I told you before on this particular program that I'm a huge milk drinker? Did you know that?
Yeah. All right.
I go through gallons of milk. Maybe that'll help my bones because I'm pre osteoporosis kind of guy. Don't laugh at my illnesses. Kev, let's talk about the landing. This is where we land every day. The great Brazos Landing. There it is. Oh, I miss it right now. On a gorgeous day where you could sit out by the river, just kind of maybe have a gentle breeze hit you, and you're just out there. It's just so wonderful. It really is. It's just beautiful to be a part of the Brazos Landing. And you can even see there on the logo, the waves, the bridge, you see the arena over there shining. It's a great one. It's a great thing. And so lots of excitement around both Baylor, and then today's big news, Kevin. The Dallas Mavericks have their president, and they have their alternate governor, and it is with great fanfare. Now, I think they did kind of want to reach out Tim Connolly, the former Nuggets GM who became the president of everything with the Timberwolves. The Wolves said, no, thanks. We're not going to let you talk to him. And so Patrick Dumont, who'd been running this search, I think without the help of a search firm, maybe. Did I read that? Anyway, this is Masai Ujiri, and he was with the Toronto Raptors for many years, 2013 through 2025. He was the architect of their championship team. Of course, he got Kawhi Leonard to come there. They were not able to re-sign or extend Kawhi, and Kawhi ended up with the Clippers at the time, right? And he built a pretty good team, though. Raptors went a lot of years, 7 straight years of reaching the playoffs, lots of division titles. And then after 3 years of not making the playoffs, he was dismissed. His time ended there with Toronto after 2025, but he's still highly thought of, and he will be the Mavericks president, and he will make all the major decisions, including, of course, they'll have the lottery on Sunday, and then Ujiri will he will preside over the draft, and he will decide who the Mavericks have. This is the last time they'll have, unless something else happens, that they'll have a first-round pick for a good long while, maybe even through 2029. But they've got partially because Harrison was such an idiot and didn't get more than he did. He got Anthony Davis in 1 draft pick for freaking Luka Doncic. Now, they lucked out and they got Cooper Flagg. So I think this makes this an attractive job for someone like Masai Ujiri, who people had been after, and I think people would be excited to have him around. So he takes over for the Mavericks. We'll have more on this in the coming days. Kevin reminded me just to let you guys know, Sixers at Knicks get going tonight. That's game 1 of that series. And then T-Wolves at the Spurs. Game 1 of that series gets going this very evening. Kevin, I would have to think that one of those games is probably on ESPN, one of them on NBC. I'm trying to think which games I've been watching on NBC. Is it the Eastern games? I think I have. So probably Sixers at Knicks on NBC if I had to guess. And then maybe Wolves at Spurs get going on ESPN. All right?
That's correct. You
Does
nailed
that
it.
sound right? Okay.
Yep.
I just kind of was spitballing that. I don't know if Amazon gets do they get a series this next round? Because we're obviously narrowing things down a little bit in this round, but I'm not sure if the Amazon folks paid for another series. We know we get NBC / Peacock. We know we have ESPN / ABC. And what else does that leave us? I guess just Amazon. We'll see if Amazon has a series here, but should be fun. And it will be a great time as we watch NBA tonight. Well, appreciate everybody. Kevin, is there anything else real quick? Let's just make sure. Always like to, I hate it when something breaks right at the end. The Tigers, Skubal, their great pitcher, he will have to undergo surgery on his left elbow. That broke during our show. We told you about the Orlando Magic firing their head coach, Jamal Mosley. He'll land on his feet somewhere. And the only thing else we didn't Kevin, just since you're such the huge Colts guy, let's also share something that went down about 1:30 today. Indianapolis Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson did report Monday for voluntary off-season workouts. That's today, after staying home the past 2 weeks, a source told ESPN. They're no closer to trading him, and with no indication they'll release him, Richardson is back in the building for the time being. We'll see what happens with him. On Friday, they declined Richardson's 5th-year option, which will make him a free agent after this coming season. All right. Exercising that option would have come with a guaranteed salary in 2027 of more than $22 million. No thanks. No thanks. They were not going to do that. So there you go, Kevin. There's your latest Anthony Richardson Colts news from earlier today. I'm sure you had seen that. And General Manager Chris Ballard recently pointed out that it's possible Richardson remains with the team. I don't know if that'll do anybody. He does need to go somewhere.
I think that kind of depends on the Daniel Jones rehab.
In 17 appearances over 3 seasons, Richardson has completed 50.6% of his attempts, which is horrific, with 11 touchdowns and 13 interceptions.
Uh-huh.
Those were good numbers back in like the 1950s.
Yeah. But when the magic hits, man, like he still probably has one of the best NFL touchdown passes of all time.
Well, that's fine, but there's a lot of people. We're still waiting on the magic to hit, and he now joins a long line of those people. But he certainly has some ability, and this is a guy. The Cowboys took a flyer on Lance, then they took a flyer on the guy from the Patriots, and
Joe Milton.
They love people like this. This is the Cowboys' dream, is to get Anthony Richardson for nothing and to pay him nothing. Now, again, if he stays on the roster, Kevin, how much would they owe him this year?
I mean, it's
a rookie deal. Where did he go in the draft?
He was the 4th pick.
Okay, so it's pretty good money. It's pretty good money if he has to stay on the roster. This could be a post-June 1 cut. I don't know if I'm just trying to think if that would help them money-wise to just cut him. Obviously, what they would like to do is trade him, but nobody wants to take that contract on, really. All right. So they're going to end up having to pay for some of this no matter what. It is the Mosley Show. Thank you. We went a little overtime. Thanks to everybody who was a part of this one. We will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock straight up. Good night.
When Central National Bank decided to partner with Baylor women's basketball, we were hoping Coach Collin would bring that championship mindset to do whatever she has to do to take our workplace culture to the next level.
Well, these donuts are pretty good.
Guys, how we doing?
We're good, Coach.
Craig! What are you doing?
What do you mean?
You have to dunk it.
So far, I think our employees are really enjoying it.
Not everything's a basketball thing.
Did you say something, Craig?
No, ma'am.
That's what I thought.
Dude, I think she likes you.
Central National Bank, proud partner of Baylor Athletics and Baylor Women's Basketball.